Hi guys, welcome everyone. Thanks for taking time on a weekday to join me on the session. Let's just wait for a couple of participants to join in, then let's begin. All right, guys, let's begin. Am I audible? Can someone in chat just let me know if my mic's fine? All right. First and foremost, thanks everyone for joining me today. Hopefully, you have some takeaways from this session that you can actually use in the real world and perhaps get placed or start your own venture. So let me start sharing my screen and let's get started. So guys, today I will be talking about the jobs in the COVID era, how people used to hunt for jobs, how people used to look for clients and freelance gigs before, and how COVID has affected us all. So before that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Sankalp. I work at Avalon Meta. I handle the product here at Avalon Meta. Prior to this, I was an account executive at Foxpond. For those of you who don't know what Foxpond is, it's a sales automation and a sales engagement tool that's being used by some of the top Fortune 500 companies today. So on a day-to-day, I used to interact with the C-level executives there at Foxpond to understand how different companies carry out sales and what the recruitment process was in each of these companies. I've been in sales for the past 3 years. I have been responsible for more than 25 lakhs month over month revenue while I was at Foxconn and also while I was at Avalon Labs. I have directly trained under Varun Maya, Alex, and Zach from MongoDB. These are Alex and Zach. They were some sales superstars who sold to a lot of companies across geographies, and they are based out of India. So I was very fortunate to train under such great mentors, and of course, Varun too. That being said, why I am relevant and why you should listen to me is because I am one of the first employees here at Avalon Labs. I have recruited for both technical as well as non-technical roles, and after this, maybe you can resonate with me and appreciate what goes behind the scenes during recruitment. So that's a little bit about me. And today's agenda is going to be very simple. I'll tell you about how COVID has impacted jobs, what your options are in today's world. If you were to look for employment, how do you sell yourself online? once you've gone halfway there, how do you tackle interviews? And then there are some tips, tricks, and best practices that we at Avalon follow and look out for in our in people who we hire. So let's get started with how COVID has impacted jobs. I'll talk about how it was before COVID and what has changed now. Before COVID, the world was growing at a steady pace. The GDPs of most countries were growing. A lot of startups were coming up, and funds were kind of freely flowing. But as soon as COVID hit, every market, every nation around the world shut down their borders. It directly affected a lot of industries, some of them being travel and entertainment predominantly. And everybody who used to work in office spaces have gone remote. People who are either poor performance or were in vulnerable industries, they've all been laid off. There are over 400 million jobs that has been wiped out due to COVID. Economic Times reports that there are over 41 lakh youth in India who have been affected due to COVID. Either they have been put on permanent unpaid leaves or have been told that they don't have those jobs anymore. If you read the news recently, you will know that Australia is already under recession. People are have been laid off, or they are. It started to happen. People are starting to lose jobs. The industries that were under stress before COVID, they've started crumbling. So no industry in the world has been immune to the effects of COVID. Hospitality, travel, leisure, and entertainment are the worst hit industries, while gaming, insurance, and online education have been the least affected. And I'll tell you why it's important that you guys understand the trends and how COVID is affecting these industries individually. You can also look at the graph here that shows how unemployment has spiked up from April, and it's kind of coming back in July, but you cannot predict how it's going to be the next 3 months or the next 1 year. In fact, given that the COVID cases in India aren't going down by the day. So let's talk about what your future options are here. Each one of you is different. You've done different things in the past, so it's important you understand what the future holds for you. And I see a couple of paths that you can take. Amidst all this, there's one thing that has come out good because of COVID. Firstly, remote work is here to stay. Both people as well as companies have started to appreciate remote work. People know that remote work is definitely possible. A lot of companies have started going completely remote. As the big companies like Google and Microsoft have promised their employees that they need not return to work until a vaccine is found, or for the next year and a half. Before, there was always this air around saying if people go remote, then the quality of work will go down, or the companies can't sustain remote teams. But that has been debunked. Remote work is definitely possible. A lot of companies have started to realize this, and because of this, what is happening is that international borders are shrinking. You don't have to be present in a place in order to add values to companies. And I'll tell you why it's important. As Indians, we realize this. The price parity between India and other countries is huge. People get paid way more than what Indians get paid for the same amount of jobs. And Indians and Chinese have started realizing this. So remote work is here to stay. You can start applying for positions abroad and start commanding salaries that are equivalent to the GDP and the cost of living abroad. As Indians, we have the leverage of even negotiating a lower wage purely because the cost of living in India is less. So the salary you command will be great in terms of the cost of living here, but it would be at par in maybe in US or Europe. And thirdly, the future of work is going to be fluid. You need not be synchronous to what your team is doing. You can do your work at your own pace, strike that work-life balance, and you can interact with your team when they are online or when it's convenient for all of you. So all these factors have brought out the bright side of working remote. So yeah. And as I said, I see four perspectives that each one of you can take from here on. One, you can all, if you're unemployed or if you're a student just coming out of a university, you can start looking for employment. If you have the skills that it takes to land freelancing projects, then you need not work under an umbrella. You can work at your own pace and start freelancing. You can start landing gigs that will help you freelance. Thirdly, if you found an opportunity, if you found a gap in the market and you want to address that gap, entrepreneurship is the way to go for you. It's very fulfilling. It's a very rewarding path that you can walk. Finally, if you think you don't want to work, you still want to continue to hone skills, then you can always upskill. Upskilling should be a part of your life, no matter which uh, path you continue to walk, be it an entrepreneur or a freelancer. I think upskilling is very important, and all of you must continue to upskill to remain relevant in today's world. And I know that I'm telling you that COVID's affected a lot of industries, and you might even think, why would anybody start a company in such unstable environments? Let me point this fact to you. Companies that stood the test of the 2008 recessions have gone on to become unicorns and the Ubers in this world today. So if there is genuinely a problem that you have identified in today's market, you feel free to start finding the product market fit. See if it's a genuine problem that you can solve for 10 people, 50 people, 100 people, and see how you can scale it. That's how entrepreneurs are born, and that's how companies are born. So entrepreneurship should always be on your mind if you have the passion for it. And for the rest of my talk today, I will be talking to you majorly about how you can get hired as an employee and also how to land freelance projects. So given that the world is moving online, how do you sell yourself online? This is very important for you freelancers, for people who are looking to get employments, as well as for those of you who are looking to land clients. First and foremost, before you sell yourself online, it's very important you establish your online presence. How do you go about it is up to you. Either you build your own brand, you post content on Instagram, on LinkedIn, or other blogs. So it's very important you start doing that first. But for the most of you, I know that this is hard work and you might have not done this in the past. So to get quick results, the best way to go about it is to first start building your resume. Studies show that people judge you and your resume within the first 10 seconds of the opening it. They look for the aesthetics of it. They look for a couple of keywords that they're looking for, and in 10 seconds, people rate you. And I will tell you why it's important to establish that connect in the first 10 seconds. For every job listing or a listing or a message a recruiter gets, there are 100 other people like you who are applying. So put yourself in the shoes of a recruiter. How hard is it going to be to skim through 100 resumes to find that one perfect fit? So it's very important to establish that connect immediately. A good resume is basically just good advertisement. And here are some points I have for you that constitutes a good resume. Aim for a single page resume. Here's something that you can do. Go to Google and type Elon Musk's resume. There's a company called Novo Resume that actually fit uh, all of Elon Musk's experience in one page of a resume. Now, if Elon can fit his resume on one page, I am sure all of us, you and me, can fit our experiences, what our skills on a single page. You don't bore the recruiter with long sentences with a list of things that might not be relevant to the job you're applying for. So be precise, come exactly to the point, right? List down experiences that are relevant to the job you're applying for. If you're applying for a technical role, let's say you are applying for the role of a machine learning engineer, you don't have to list experiences that you have in marketing. They have no direct correlation. That being said, if you're trying to shift verticals, you're applying for, let's say you're applying for the role of a marketer, but you have your prior experience in machine learning. List these experiences in such a way that it adds value. You can say things like, I've worked on machine learning, but in marketing projects. So I have good domain understanding in marketing, and that is one of the reasons why you want to shift your verticals into marketing. So always make it relevant to why you're applying for. Thirdly, have quantifiable achievements, add numbers, add past experiences, narrate a story such that you are the hero and the villain was the problem, on how you overcame the villain or the problem and how you helped people solve problems. So it's very important you have quantifiable achievements. Don't use vague terms like I am a good marketer. Have quantifiable achievements like I brought in month over month revenue. I brought in 10 clients this month, 15 the next month, etc. Or if you're in technical fields, then talk about how you built a product in the least amount of time possible. So make it very quantifiable. Give examples of what makes you unique. At the end of the day, people are looking for a cultural fit. They are not only looking for your skills, but also how you would fit in, help each other out. So give them examples of why or what makes you unique. Say examples of these could be that you have an analytical eye, you analyze things thoroughly before taking decisions, or you can say things like you don't mind experimenting. You can also talk about how you A/B tested a particular product and you found out which the winner was, which in turn helped your company do X or Y objectives. Lastly, have one thing that you're the most proud of. For me personally, I am really proud of uh, the sales I've done. I have spoken to a lot of people. I have converted meetings. I have got people to open my emails. These are some of the skills that I'm really proud of. And you should also have certain skills or certain things that you are proud of that will make you stand out. Then when you are ready to actually start writing down your resume or video shooting yourself for your resume, list down the skills that you believe you have. I see a lot of people list down skills that are not relevant. As I said, skip all that. And guys, don't lie on your resume. It's very easy to catch your lies. So if you think you are learning a skill, it's fine to write uh, words like you're aspiring to become this or you're learning to become that. Don't directly put terms like you've mastered this or you're an expert in those skills. Nothing speaks badly on your character as much as lying on your resume. Read the job descriptions for your not just marketing positions but any positions that you're applying for properly. If you go on LinkedIn and you go on any jobs that people want, they would have clearly put things like, I want people who have experience in Facebook analytics, Facebook ads, Google analytics. All you have to do is just copy these terms and then paste it on your resume. These are what people are looking for and these are what you have. So it's a perfect fit. Then write down skills that correlate in one place and carefully sprinkle them in your resume. So if let's say the job portal asks for a person to be analytical, use that keyword, put it all across your resume. Talk about yourself. Start with why you think you're analytical, what you have done. Then towards the middle of your resume, talk about your experiences in being analytical, and towards the end, talk about some of the achievements you've got by being analytical. And finally, use action verbs to describe your work because this is work that you have done. So take ownership of it, be confident in what you have done. So use action words to describe your experience. Another hack or a tip I have for you is start shooting video resumes of yourself. Gone are those days where you take a template, fill in whatever data you have, and then start sending it to people. Those days are gone, guys. Now it's very important to establish that human connect with your employers. Now that everyone's going online, people also want to know what kind of a person you are. So by shooting a video resume, what you do is you establish that connect with your recruiter. You have that human element. You definitely stand out with your peers because out of 100 resumes I get around 3 video resumes. So I obviously prioritize videos over blank sheets of papers. So I'm sure that's the same case with a lot of other recruiters out there. Then another thing that video resume does for you is that It shows confidence. If you are able to speak to a camera, then that's a lot of confidence. That just exudes confidence. So these are some of the things that you can do. Let me just stop here, look at what you guys have for me, and then we'll go ahead. All right, guys. So if you have any questions, you can find the Q&A panel on your meetings. So you can feel free to put it. All right. So if you have any questions, you can put it in the Q&A section. I will be taking questions towards the end of the session. And yeah, so that's pretty much about resume. And guys, so a lot of beginners, when they start sending out their resumes to potential recruiters, they do this mistake of sending it to every job portal there is. They start applying for any job they can put their eyes on. Don't do that, because I want you guys to understand it's very simple to start applying for the wrong jobs, just because you think that you might be a good fit in. Don't leave disqualification to the employer. Rather, you disqualify yourself. You are not only saving the time of you, but also of the employer. Some job portals also have a cooldown on how many jobs you can apply for. So you're doing more harm than good when you're applying to every job you can find and start applying for it. And when you actually know the kind of jobs that you're applying for, it's very easy to craft your resume around it, craft your uh, cover letter around it. So once you have all that in mind, then start applying for jobs. Okay, now that you have your resume ready, or you think you're good to go, how do you go about hunting for jobs? How do you know that these opportunities exist? First and foremost, and the best way to go about it is through referrals. So look in your network, how many people are hiring for the kind of jobs that you are looking for. Reach out to them, ask them for a quick call, tell them that, hey, I noticed this, that you posted a job listing and I'm interested in applying for it. So I wanted to know more about it. How about we get on a quick call? Ask them out for a e-coffee or a digital coffee. Get to learn about them, about the problems that they are facing, about what the company is doing, and then determine if you're a good fit. The more research you do, the more leverage you have when it comes to interviews. So it's very important you do your research right. Secondly, there are a lot of communities built around a particular job role. So I know a lot of communities that are built around product managers, around LinkedIn marketers, around Facebook ad experts. So start looking for these communities. Be an active part of them, because these are the guys that you will be working with in the future. So it's very easy to ask for a referral from there on. Although networking events used to be offline, there are a lot of networking events that are happening online. So start attending these events, see what people are doing, copy a few things, you be innovative, and start applying from here on. And another tip I have for you in these networking events is that don't ask for jobs directly in these events. Try to learn a lot about the kind of jobs or the kind of work that the company is doing. Try to align your personal goals with the goals of the company. That's how you determine if this company would be a good fit for you. And then ask for networking events. Once you establish some connect with the person in the event, shoot them a mail saying that, hey, it was nice talking to you, and I just noticed that a lot of skills that you guys are looking for, I possess them, or the kind of work that you guys are doing, I'm passionate about it. Would you happen to have openings in your companies? So even though there might not be openings, if you possess the right skills and go about it the right way, the openings can be created for you guys. So sales, uh, so a lot of what I'm talking to you is about sales. Sales is not about finding the right opportunities, rather creating opportunities. You might be an introvert, you might be an extrovert. It doesn't matter how old or young you are. These are fundamental skills that you guys need to learn, and these will help you in the long run as well. These will directly translate into negotiating higher salary packages, into finding better opportunities, into having good meetings. So these are skills that you guys definitely have to learn, and you have to start learning them today. So let's say you've applied for a job and then these things have worked for you. The next step comes interview. And before I get on to interviews, social media is a sleeper. A lot of people don't look at social media for jobs. All you have to do is go to Twitter, type in the designation that you're looking for, and you would be surprised by the number of postings that companies put out on social medias. People don't realize social media can also be used to find jobs, and you are eliminating your competition by half if you start leveraging social media the right way. We at Avalon Labs only post on social media. You will not find job listings on LinkedIn or anywhere else, because we want people who know us best, and we want to work with people who will be the least taxing on our systems. So social media, and I'm sure a lot of other companies also feel the same way. So social media is great. Once you find these people, just directly text the person who's posted the job listing, uh, text them or even send them an email through outreach. And the last way and the least effective way of applying for jobs is through job portals. Uh, and you guys might question me saying job portals are the best way to find jobs. True, it might be a good way to know if a company is hiring, but job portals are the least effective ways to get jobs. And I'll tell you here is why. You can get to see only one aspect of applying for jobs. You go to a portal, you fill in your resume, perhaps a cover letter, and you click on submit. And now you guys have to wait. The wait can be agonizing. You don't see instant results here. Most companies these days don't give you a reply, positive or negative. Positive, yes, definitely, but if it's a negative response, they don't take the additional step to send you a email saying, hey, I looked at your resume, we might not be a good fit, because the number of people applying for these jobs is crazy. People without the right skills, freshers, all of these guys start applying for these jobs that they might not be a good fit in. So it does not make sense for people to actually take the time out in replying to all of these job listings. So, and I've been in your shoes. I've applied for job portals when I was in college. The wait can be very agonizing. You might think that you're a good fit, but at the end of the day, you don't get a reply back, and that just sets you up for more rejection. And it's very easy to dissuade you from doing this, from following your process, from losing your temper if these keeps happening. So feedback is very important, and the best ways to get feedback is through referrals, through your communities, or through social media. So I would say apply to job portals as your last resort. And let's say you've got your interview. Now, what do you do in your interview? How do you control the conversations? How do you balance the power dynamics? Firstly, research about the companies and the roles. As I said, the more information you have on your fingertips, the more leverage you have. Try to build a personal brand online. Doesn't matter if you're late, or doesn't matter if you do not know, if you're not an expert at what you are trying to learn. The more you post, the more personal brand you build, and over time, no matter what you post, you will always find audience to read your posts, to read your content. And the way to look smart is by start posting things today. It could be as simple as what you've learned today, or what you think is good for your organization. So it can be very small. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to indicate that you're an expert. Start posting today, and over time you will build your personal brand online. That's bound to happen. Prepare for common questions, guys. Today, this is the era of internet. You can Google literally anything you want. Uh, you can go to Glassdoor and find these common questions. And here's a little hack for you. Interviewers are very lazy and uninnovative. They more often than not just copy questions off the internet and ask you the same things. So if it's there on the internet, they are bound to ask you, and if it's already there on the internet, you know the answers for it. So be very prepared for these common questions. You don't have to think a lot, and it doesn't even take a lot of time to prepare. It takes you perhaps maybe 30 minutes before the interview. So if you do this, then you're just setting yourself up for success. Then be ready to share the specifics of your experience. You cannot, as I said, you have to be quantifiable. You have to say what you have done that has resulted in the experience. So build that narrative, be the hero of your story, and portray this on how you will help the company achieve its goals. So, and at the end of the day, be confident. If you are not confident, then it indicates that you don't have the right skills for the job. And you don't want to be, as a recruiter, you don't want to be talking to people who are not confident. So, confidence is one area in life where you can fake it till you make it. So, keep that in mind. Uh, Build that mindset. Confidence is a mindset. So, you have to practice that and build it over time. And once you've cracked your interviews and you get on to the next stage, a lot of companies will see if you would be a good cultural fit. So one hack I have for you is read the room right. Reflect the room in your personality. If a person that you're talking to is jovial, he talks about his personal life, reciprocate that. Then let go of loosen your nerves. Then you share some experiences just like they did. But then if your interviewer is very serious, they cut to the chase, they talk about just the specifics, then you do the same thing. Ask ask uh, quality questions. Ask about what the company has in mind for you. Ask about what your peers are doing, how what it means to be successful in your roles. So things like that. Think that you're already part of the organization and then you are looking to do well. So you will come up with questions and then ask them questions. Stay away from politics. Keep away from religion or anything that will build friction. It's good to have opinions, but at the end of the day, these topics will the problem arises when the people you're talking to have conflicting opinions. So it's good to stay away from controversies. So those are my tips for your interviews. And apart from that, a lot of other tips I have for you is action is important. It's very easy to uh, you know think that you're doing the right things, but when the time comes, you don't sit on your resume. You don't take the time to shoot a proper resume. The lights might not be nice, or you might not edit it right. You might also be hesitant to apply or to reach out to the people that you think would be right a good fit. At the end of the day, action counts. You cannot wait for an opportunity to hop on your lap to grab it. So action is everything. You have to start applying for jobs today. Have to start looking for clients today, so that one fine day you will get that break. And personally, this is something I can do for you. If you need help with your resumes, or if you need help with anything with regards to your job listings, you can you can post it on your Instagram and tag me. You can find me at Sank of the Dank on Instagram. What I will do for you is I will critique your resumes, and I'll also post it on LinkedIn. So if you are looking to get hired, then I do have a lot of recruiters on my LinkedIn that might get you a job. So feedback is very important when you're just starting off, because as I said, a lot of recruiters don't give you feedback. So somebody has to give you feedback, and I am more than happy to be that person to help you here, give you feedback. You can even post it on the Avalon Meta Discord community. We are all here for you. uh, the Discord has some of the brightest people I've ever met. So these people will definitely help you critique your resume. They might even help you find your job or gigs. That being said, I want to talk about the Meta community that we have built. The community is great. I'm sure a lot of you are from the community, and if you are not, I urge you to join this community. We talk about things like sales, marketing, coding, these are these are all people of your age. They resonate with the things that are happening in the world. They are of your mindset, and they are here to help. So the more you help the community helps you back. So community is your unfair advantage. Start building your brands in the community as well. And the more you help the community, as I said, you build your personal brand. So leverage the community. Feel free to ask for referrals. There is no harm or shame in asking for referrals or help. So and we at Avalon have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that we want to do with the communities. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we could not have the offline bar events this year. but let's see how we can improve this community, help you all get kick-started. That being said, the upcoming Pro League is about sales, and I will be teaching you sales, guys. Sales is not just for people who want to sell; it's also, as I said, for every one of you here. I will be talking to you about the different channels of messaging, of different channels of sales. How you can send a sequence of messages such that people are bound to reply to you. I will be diving deep into the mindset required on how to handle rejection. And here is something that I want to talk about. Alex has always told me that sales or hunting is like dating. You know that you are interested in somebody, but what do you do in order to get them interested in you? You have to seem interesting. You have to build your personal brand. Once you have done that, it's important you tell them or show them that you're interested in them, and it's very important to find out why you are interested in them, and in the end you ask them out. So sales is very much like that. I will be teaching you on how you can communicate effectively, how to take command of meetings, how to read the room, understand the power dynamics. When you're in a room and you're the person speaking with, when you're in a group of people, you will always notice that there is a delicate power dynamics. The person with the most power commands the room, commands the meeting. So I will tell you how you can be that person. You don't have to sit back and wait for people to ask you questions or drive the conversation. You can be the person to take charge. I'll also be holding your hands and helping you perform activities. So as I said, action is important and feedback is important. So I will be there as a mentor for you to create your resume, be it, or create your email. I'll critique your cold call and I'll give you some tips and tricks, and I'll talk about my experience on how you can do this better. The sessions will have a lot of guest lectures. I have planned guest lectures right from people who are starting, just getting into sales, or who have just cracked into sales, to people who have been in the sales industry for 15, 20 years. So I want you guys to be exposed to the variety of experiences and how you can pick up these. You don't have to experience this in order to be good at sales. It's all about cracking your way into becoming the best salesperson there is. And there's going to be a lot of role play. So you will get to role play as a CEO, as a sales rep, as a customer, and you will start appreciating all of these in my upcoming sales project. So that being said, I'll open the floor now to questions. Okay, so the first question I have is, due to pandemic, many companies have freeze recruiting, and most of them have stopped hiring. What do you do if you're a fresher? Right. So it's definitely true that companies have put on uh, freezes on recruiting. So it's important you understand the industries. So as I said, hospitality, entertainment, airlines, all of these are the most hit industries. I would not even touch these industries with a 10-foot pole, because the layoffs are happening here. But if you look at gaming, online education like us, healthcare, insurance, these are companies that are thriving. Another way to see if an industry is good is to see where are the investments coming in. If you look at it, Byju's just acquired White Hat Junior. Unacademy just raised a round of funding. So these are indicators of a thriving industry. And usually when people raise money, it's for an underlying reason that the company wants to expand. So the way the company expands, when the company expands, the team expands as well. So be focused on the kind of companies that you're looking out for. And it's also important you apply for fresher roles. You don't have to apply for roles that demand experiences. And in case the roles do ask for experiences, what you have to do is build a good portfolio, work on dummy projects or your side hustles. So it's very important you portray the skills you have, and you have to do it in your own way. The next question is, how do you classify if a company would be a good fit for you? You can look at reviews. So personally, you'll have to align what you have to think what your goals are. If your goals are to learn a lot from this job while contributing, look at Glassdoor reviews. The reviews will tell you if the companies are flexible with you learning on the job versus if you are expected to know beforehand. Then you have to set your own list of criteria that you think is important, and then try to research about the company to see if it will be a good fit for you. What do I do if I need money to support my personal brand? Do you suggest I look for a day job? So, in order to build a personal brand, yes, running ads is a way to go about it, but there are definitely other ways to go about building a personal brand, right? So, build your own website. A website doesn't take a lot of money to build. So, start building websites, look for collaborations. A lot of people like you are in the Avalon community. So, it's important that you start collaborations. Get on a podcast, get on a Instagram live, talk to your audience, talk to their audience. That's how you start building personal brands. And once you hit that threshold, then maybe it's a good idea to start looking for a job to build it further. But I would say when you're starting out, you don't have to invest money to build a personal brand. Varun did not start his personal brand by running ads. Varun posted content organically that attracted his audience. So yeah, I'm in second year student of MBA in finance. Should I mention this that I'm pursuing MBA? Absolutely, I think it's important to uh, to show your highest qualification on your resume. Pursuing a degree is good. It definitely helps showing that on your resume. Although, if you were to go ahead, and put this on your resume, then you will be susceptible to questioning. So as long as you are ready to answer these questions, you can go ahead. And Chaitanya, I'm reading these questions from the Q&A panel. So you're on the chat, but there's also a Q&A panel. Oh, I'm not sure how. Okay, I think this might help. Do you think? Can you see this question here, Ramesh? All right. So these are the questions that I was just answering. I'll click on this as in when I answer these questions. Yeah. So it's important. It's okay to put what you're pursuing on your resume. How do you negotiate for a higher salary? Uh, how do you deal with the objection? We are cutting salaries because of COVID, especially since they are making a lot of revenue. Right. So there are two sides to the story. It's important you realize that COVID has affected all the companies, and no industry is immune to COVID. So you will have to think about what your peers are earning in the same role that you are. You cannot obviously ask for a 35-40% hike for the same kind of job you will be doing uh, as your peers. Secondly, when people negotiate salary, it's important to show what you bring to the table. Uh, you can't just ask for a higher number and just because that is what you think, that is what you have on your mind. It's important to show value and to show your employers why it's important for them to pay you that salary. That's when leverage comes in. So the more number of offers you have on your hand, the higher salaries you can negotiate without a reason. But you'll have to also reason why you think you deserve that higher salary. Point to your skills. Show that you bring these varieties of skills to the table. Uh, you can also say that you bring a lot more experience than what is being asked, or you have a domain specific knowledge that you think deserves a higher salary. So it's important to show value first before you ask for higher salary. Then when people do complain about COVID, then you can say that yes, COVID has affected us all, but I do have a couple of other offers on the hand. And I personally like this company, the kind of work you do, and that is one of the reasons why I am talking to you and I want to strike the balance here. So be nice to your recruiters. They are also human beings at the end of the day. Don't come out as rude or cocky. That will just drive down your chances of getting that pay. Next question. What about college placements for entry into the corporate world? Ayush, that depends on your college. Even the IITs have not been immune to COVID. A lot of people from my college, my juniors, they were all given a job, but as soon as COVID struck them, the offers were rescinded. So today, uh, it's a free for all world out there. Yes, college placements can work, might work for you might not work for a lot of other people. So if it does not work for you, it is a free for all world out there. It's important you establish your brand, your skills in order to get into the corporate world. And there are so many job portals out there. For example, Amazon has its own job portal. They don't hire on LinkedIn. I think Facebook also has its own job portals. So it's very hard to keep a track of all these portals, right? How many portals can you apply for? How many portals can you individually go and keep a track of? So yeah, placements can work, but it's up to you how you want to go ahead. Okay, so how did I get hired at Avalon? That's a interesting story in itself. So when Avalon came to our college, Avalon only came to two colleges to recruit. One was Manipal because Varun, Nikita, Anandya, they all studied at Manipal. And the second college they came to was my college, PS University. My college is one of the best colleges in Karnataka. If you were to hire in the IT sectors, our CS students are really, really good at it. So when they came to our college, the job description itself was so unique. They were looking for people who have prior experience in uh, blockchain, who have prior experience with sales, marketing, and also coding. They were looking to hire Ruby on Rails developers. When I entered the placement cell, I noticed that more than 200 people had applied for the non-technical roles. And I am trained in technical roles as well, so I know how to code. So I thought that if I were to go through the non-technical route, it would just uh, decrease the chances of me getting hired. So what I did was I applied for the technical role. I cracked it. I was the only person who got hired into a technical role. Then when I spoke to Varun, I told him that technical jobs might not be my cup of tea. I only wrote the exam because I was interested in joining Avalon. And then he gave me an opportunity to pursue Coin Frenzy. That's the company that I started at Avalon along with Anshul. So we started Coin Frenzy, and that's how my life pivoted into sales and marketing. Okay. As a beginner, if an individual doesn't have that much experience in one field but consistently learning in that field, and if he lands a client, should he do that gig for free or charge a value? Uh, okay, guys. So the, this is a question about value. If if he's a client, what I would recommend you do is don't do it for free. When you're doing job, might as well charge money for it, right? Because you're not learning anything from the gig, rather you're contributing. But let's say if you have landed an internship, then I would say it's okay to do a free internship because you will be learning a lot uh, in that internship rather than getting paid for it. So if it's a gig, ask for money, charge a decent sum. Don't charge a lot of money because you're also a fresher. Charge for the kind of value that you bring onto the table. But if it's an internship, then feel free to work for free. You guys have to understand that the world is changing, and when you're paying for colleges, it's also fine to just work for free and learn on the job. When you do free internships, it's very easy to convert that into a full-time job or full-time gig. So okay, so when will the Sales Pro League start? Um I will be announcing the Sales Pro League a little later today, maybe at 10 or 10:30 today. The Sales Pro League will start towards the end of September, and the registrations will start this Saturday. Uh, as for the cost, this time we understand that you guys were looking for a monthly subscription cost, given that the EMIs didn't work last time. So we have a monthly subscription plan as well. So more on that, I will send the link. I'll post it on the Discord communities for you guys to take a look at it. How did I get hired at Foxconn? What's my story? So Alex and Alex and Avalon started Foxbound the December of 2018, and this is when CoinFrenzy was at its peak. We used to do a lot of sales. We used to have a lot of engagements, and at one point, I realized that blockchain is not my future. I don't want to be working in the blockchain space for long. So we spoke to Varun. I spoke to Varun about it, and he was telling me that Foxbound's just going to kickstart its India operations, and he offered to work. He offered me a position at Foxconn. So we sold CoinFrenzy, to our investor, and then I spoke with Alex. I spoke about my experience of sales at CoinFrenzy, and I told him that I want to work on sales. So, Alex just gave me a role at Foxconn. He wanted me to take care of the India sales for SMBs. Uh, as for my Pro League, guys, there are a couple of questions about my Pro League. So I will be sharing all of that information about with you today at the end of the day. You can expect it around 10:30. So you need a job or a freelance opportunity, but you're not skilled enough. Then what do you do? Keep in mind that freelancing need not be a one-man task. You can definitely team up with people, 3, 4 people, or 4, 5 people. You handle whatever you're skilled in, and get people to handle whatever they are skilled in. So you have to strike that balance. If job is the need of the hour, then collaborate with people. I think it's called No Resume. What you can do is just go to Google, type Elon Musk resume, and that might be the first result that comes. Okay, so can you do a freelancing and job which are in the same field? And if the recruiter is asking to quit freelancing job for the sake of job, how do you deal with it? So guys, no recruiter would actually ask you to stop doing your personal things if it is not impacting your professional life. So it's very important you establish the work-life balance. You have to, no matter what, dedicate 8 hours of your time in a day for your job. Anything more than that is your free time. You're free to freelance, you're free to learn anything else. You don't even have to mention to your recruiters that you're freelancing. But then some companies have an NDA where they tell you that you cannot work in the same field or do the same things if you're actively pursuing their job. So it's good to talk with your employers, but it's in your hands to strike that balance. And honestly, if you are doing a full-time job and you want to do a freelancing gig, try to do freelancing only in the weekends. Try to also spend some time on upskilling or with your family. It's also good to keep your mental health in a good place this pandemic. Is sales career better than finance? So sales is a part of every industry there is. You can't say that finance is an industry and sales is a completely different industry. There is a lot of sales that is involved in a lot of industries. Investment bankers, if you look at it, are salespeople. It's their responsibility to go advertise and raise money for their clients. So sales as a career is very lucrative. It's one of the highest paying careers there is. And you can't really draw comparisons between finance as a vertical and sales as a career. Is it important to build your brand on LinkedIn? Let me tell you this. Varun deleted his LinkedIn because it was becoming too noisy. People used to reach out to him on LinkedIn to sell that product. So no social media is immune to noise. You have to pick your platform of choice and start building your resume there. LinkedIn used to be a place for recruiters and a place for professional setting. But if you look at it, if you look at LinkedIn today, you get TikTok videos. So I don't know what to say about that, but you guys have to decide where you want to build your personal brand. That's okay. LinkedIn can be one, Instagram can be one, Twitter definitely can be a place. Why not? Okay, guys. Since we are on a short time frame, I'll take 3 questions from you. Okay, what do you do if there's no open position, but you still want to go for that particular position? So find that person that you want to work with. Don't directly tell them that you're looking for a position. So be curious. Ask them questions like, hey, what do you do in your day-to-day life? What is it that you work on? What are you passionate about? Slowly start driving your conversation towards the objectives of the company and their objectives. Let's say they tell you that, you know what, we work on this, but it's just a prototype. If this goes well, then this might be our full-time thing. Or they tell you about a problem in their life. We don't have full stack developers on our team, so we are moving this we are moving slowly in this project. So that's when you get that insider information. That's when you can leverage this information. Once you have that info on your hand, tell them that you are skilled in a particular tool or technology, and then you are really impressed by the kind of work they do, and you want to work with them, and they'll give you the answer then and there. It could be that they can go back to the team to get you hired, or they'll ask you to wait for a couple of months so that an opportunity arises. So that's how you go about it. So last two more. A really important question: how much should my base salary plus incentive be for a web services agency that serves international clients? I used to do media buying for this CEO, but he likes me a lot. He's restarting his agency and he wants me to follow up and close qualified leads. Average ticket size is $1,000 to $4,000. Okay, so here at Avalon, we used to pay our account executives anywhere between 20 to 25% in commissions and a slightly lesser base salary. So it's important for you to realize how many sales you can drive. If you think you're skilled enough to drive a lot more sales, negotiate for a higher commission. If you think that the industry does not let you drive sales, then negotiate for a higher base pay. So negotiate for what makes sense for you. And finally, the last question: what is required to start a career in consultancy and non-tech? So consultancy is all about what experience you have. So once you think you have the relevant experience, you have faced a lot of problems, you have helped people solve these problems, and you think these problems are repeatable. People and companies keep facing these problems on a day-to-day in their day-to-day lives, and once you solve them, you can always find another company that you can work on. Then consultancy is a great career. You can then start your consultancy. But as a consultant, it's also important you work on the bleeding edge technologies, but because you want to be up to date with what's happening. So guys, that'll be all for today. If you have more questions, you can definitely reach out to me on Discord or on my Instagram. My emails are also open for you. I'll put in my email address here. So any questions you have, or if I can help you in any way, feel free to reach out to me. And I'm hoping to see a lot of you in the upcoming Sales Pro League. All right, see you.